Hey students, in this video, we'll be talking about the cell system. We'll be looking at four main guiding questions, namely, what is a cell? How do you see a cell? What are the different parts of an animal and plant cell? And finally, what are the functions of the different parts of a cell? Let's begin. Have you ever wondered, what is a cell? Cells are the smallest unit of life. It is able to grow, take in food, reproduce, and respond to changes. Cells come in different shapes, sizes, and structures. Why is that so? This is to help each cell suit the specific function. Today, we'll be talking about two different shapes. Continue watching to find out more. The simplest living organism have only one cell. They are called unicellular organisms. A few examples are bacteria, yeast, and paramecia. However, most organisms are multicellular, which means they are made up of many cells. Such organisms include plants, animals, and humans. Since humans are mammals, which is part of the kingdoms of animals, we are multicellular too. But how does a cell form a human being? The same type of cells were grouped together to form a tissue. Tissues of the same function were grouped together to form an organ. Different organs are then connected to one another to work in a system. Let's apply this to a real-life context. Many cells are grouped together to form a muscle tissue. As the muscle tissues group together, it'll form the stomach. The stomach, together with other organs such as the small intestine and large intestine, will form the digestive system. Now, on to our second guiding question. How do you see a cell? Do you recall that cells are the smallest unit of life? In fact, they are so small we are unable to see them with our naked eye. That's why we need a microscope. We use the microscope to see objects too small to be seen with the naked eye. The microscope uses lenses to magnify the specimen, which is the object that we want to see. Scientists using microscopes were able to observe the different parts of cells. In today's video, we will be taking a deeper look into plant and animal cells. Now, our next guiding question is, what are the different parts of animal and plant cells? Firstly, animal cells are made up of the cell membrane, the nucleus, and the cytoplasm. On the other hand, the plant cell is made up of the cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, chloroplast, and the cell wall. To summarize, both animals and plant cells have the cell membrane, nucleus, and the cytoplasm. However, the plant cell has two more additional structures, which are the chloroplast and the cell wall. After talking about the different structures, are you curious to know what they do? Finally, our last guiding question is, what are the functions of the different parts of the cell? The cell membrane is a thin layer that surrounds the cytoplasm. It is present in both animals and plant cells. Do take note that it is the inner layer of the plant cell. Its function is to control the movements of materials going in and out of the cell. Do you recall what are some of the materials? They include food, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. The cell membrane is similar to a security guard at the door, as the security guard is able to control what goes in and out. Next, the nucleus, which is present in both animal and plant cells, is a round or oval cell part inside the cytoplasm. As you can see on the diagram, it is shown as a purple oval. It has two functions. One is to control everything that happens inside the cell. Two, it contains information that is passed on from one generation to another. The nucleus is something like the brain of the cell, as it controls everything and it contains information. Moving on to the cytoplasm, which is present in both animal and plant cells. It is a jelly-like substance that contains many cell parts. It is shown on the diagram as the light blue parts. Its function is to allow substances to move around within the cell. Before we talk about the chloroplast, do you recall what is a chloroplast? What does it contain? If you haven't watched the video on energy in food, do watch it. The chloroplast, which is shown in green, is present only in plant cells. It is a tiny disc-like part that contains a green pigment called chlorophyll. Its function is to capture sunlight for plants to make food. The process of making food is called photosynthesis. Lastly, the cell wall is only present in plant cells, and it is the outer layer of the plant cell. It is a stiff layer surrounding the cell membrane to support and give the plant cell its shape. The cells can be grouped into two shapes, a regular shape and an irregular shape. Since the cell wall is only present in plant cells, the plant cell has a regular shape while the animal cell has an irregular shape. Here are some examples of how regularly shaped plant cells look like. On the right, you'll see some examples of how irregularly shaped animal cells look like. A common misconception that most students have is that all plant cells contain chloroplast. However, this is wrong. Plant cells that are not green do not contain chloroplast, for example, root cells and onion skin cells. Do you know why root cells do not contain chloroplast? Pause the video now to make a guess. Root cells do not contain chloroplast because they are usually found under the ground and are not exposed to sunlight. If you remember, sunlight is one of the conditions for the process of photosynthesis. Another misconception that most students have is that all cells contain a nucleus. This is also wrong. A fun fact is that the human red blood cells do not contain a nucleus. With that, you're ready for a quiz. Pause the video now to attempt the question. The correct answer is 2. At the top, the flowchart asks, does it have part A? And if no, it is a cheek cell. A cheek cell is an animal cell and thus does not have chloroplast and a cell wall. So our only two options for part A is chloroplast and cell wall. Hence, we can eliminate option 1. Moving on, the flowchart asks, does it have part B? If no, it is a root cell. If yes, it is a leaf cell. Do you recall the difference between the leaf cell and a root cell? A leaf cell has chloroplast, while a root cell does not. Hence, part B should be chloroplast. Therefore, the correct option is 2. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and do remember to check out the other PSLE science videos. This video is brought to you by Project Love of Learning by students from Hwa Chong Institution.